Hello, beloved twin flames and lightworkers, and anybody who happens to come across this message. It doesn't matter who you identify with. We're all people at the end of the day on a journey of evolution and growth and self-awareness. And the message that I come with today is relevant for pretty much everybody and anybody. So, however, it is specifically aimed at twin flames where things, on this journey at times can be interesting to navigate and can come with its challenges that will be for everybody as we go through. But specifically, I'm seeing this as a phenomenon more in the twin flame collective, so I wanted to speak to it. And it's around how to assist ourselves to navigate this journey, to go through this process that we're going through of self-growth. And so this is, what I'm actually seeing is something that can actually be holding a lot of us back from growing. And that is, again, it's something that's crept up and it's been with us for quite a while throughout this journey, but I just need to pinpoint it again and bring it to people's attention so that we can make sure that we don't fall back into old patterns. So basically, I noticed that there is still a lot of focus on our twin flame, and I am just going to stick to the generalized. This is a generalized theme that comes from predominantly female twin flames that identify as being the feminine twin. And the sort of overemphasis, and perhaps to the point of being an obsession on the masculine twin flame, the divine masculine, and needing to know what they're up to, whether they're going to be with us, whether we're coming into union, how far away this is going to be. And I think this in many ways is actually turning us away from what we're actually needing to really be focused on in terms of the big picture and the bigger mission that we're all trying to work towards, which is, of course, to bring beautiful divine love and light onto this planet, and to heal the polarities, and to release and heal the fears and false programming that's been related to the 3D fear-based, survival-based duality system. So as we are moving through that, what can happen is we can often get caught up in some of the belief systems that were part of the 3D and overlay them onto the new what we're trying to create, basically the new paradigm. So this is particularly becomes an issue around the idea of love and romance, because we have obviously been given this wonderful idea of love and romance, that we'll meet the person of our dreams and they'll complete us and we'll live happily ever after. And of course we want to believe in true love. Of course we want to believe in that. Why would we ever want to give that up? And so when we meet our twin flame, of course we're like, oh my gosh, they are the one, that's the person that is my match, that's who I'm meant to be with. All this crazy stuff happens and everything shows you that this is the special person in your life. But then of course what we've found is, how come everything is not working out? How come we're not getting together with them? And how come all these fears are coming up? And what's all this about? And when am I ever going to be with them? And so what's actually happening is we're being forced to look at what's the most important relationship of all, the relationship that we have with ourselves. And this is very tricky, because the first relationship we ever had was with someone outside of ourselves. It was with our parent, usually the mother, the first parent that held us or showed us love. And then so on with the parents and the community and the families. We have learnt from when we were first born that we get our needs met from outside of ourselves, and that love is something that happens with somebody else. So we've now realised we're starting to have to do everything the opposite way, and it's taken a lot of retraining in our mind, and it's almost meant going against our own natural instincts and intuition and sort of programming to have to turn that attention back into ourselves, to look at ourselves and how we're relating to ourselves and how much we're loving ourselves, which is the key to this connection with the other, because the person, our twin flame, is our absolute mirror. They are mirroring to us how we are feeling about ourselves. So and I think a lot of people get a little bit caught up in not understanding this, or falling back into just extra focus and even to the point of obsession on what their twin flame is doing, and bypassing and forgetting to come back in and do the first steps. Self-love 101, we need to come back into that, and that's for everybody in all relationships. So I also work with clients who are not identifying themselves as twin flames, but are experiencing relationships in which they're learning about how to love themselves more as being the first step to having a healthy relationship. I can give you an example of this so that you'll understand what that actually means and how that looks in real life. So, so the person that I've recently been working with, they're in a new relationship and have fallen in love with this person, of course, and they're in this wonderful relationship, and then they've suddenly come into a difficulty and a challenge whereby the new partner is wanting to engage in an activity that this client of mine does not feel safe doing, and is not sure how to address it, is feeling very, very anxious about this particular activity, and it's giving her a lot of fear. A lot of fear is coming up, and she is struggling and not knowing what to do, is feeling very, very emotional and very, very, very vulnerable. She first of all doesn't want her new partner to see her this way. She doesn't want to come across as being negative or not supportive of her partner. So there's that there's a lot of dynamics in here that we're looking at, and this is a very good example of what we're healing and what we're breaking down and what we're coming into, of how to heal this particular situation. In relationship dynamics that play out. So first of all, what we've got a part of her that is afraid, that perhaps might be her inner child, or perhaps it's her intuition. Could even be perhaps potentially a wounded feminine part of her that does not feel safe with this particular activity and is feeling threatened by it, and is coming up to let her know that this is not a good situation. She's under threat. So the first thing we need to do here is honour the feelings, honour and trust the feelings that are coming up, and not try and deny them or suppress them or minimize them, or try and go into the mind and override them with other thoughts when we're actually having quite a strong feeling. The secondary part of this is she did not want to jeopardize the relationship with this person. She'd already started to put him on a pedestal as being this amazing guy, and she did not want to jeopardize losing him or the relationship. So again, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection in a child that's afraid of standing in their power and saying no to behaviour because they're afraid of losing that person. A classic relationship dynamic that we see a lot in codependent relationships, and often also with the partner who tends to play a more the victim role, and then this isn't necessarily related to gender, but it quite predominantly plays out as the male figure getting to sort of pick and choose what they want, and the feminine having to go along with that. Not always the case, but often it is quite often the case, because they're afraid of losing the support, the protection, often the finance and the stability that the so-called more masculine partner would provide. So she's gone into these two dynamics. So what I was encouraging her to do was to actually trust her truth of her feelings, to honour them, and to actually be clearly honest and assertive and letting her new partner know that she did not feel safe with that situation, and not shaming herself also for having an emotion, having a feeling, because she also didn't want to come across as being emotional or silly or weak and all of these things. So again, we've had extra shame on top of our natural emotions that are there for a reason. So we need to first of all validate and honour ourselves, and for having a fearful emotion. First of all, never judge or shame yourself for having an emotion. It's understandable that you feel the way you do. Honor your emotion, hear it, and respect it, and do what's needed without using the traditional mechanisms of fight, flight, freeze. So what she was also trying to do was she just wanted to jump out of the relationship and say, oh, this isn't going to work. If he's going to want to do that, it's probably better that I just leave the relationship now. So that would be an avoidance or flight response. And the other response that some people do is they'll just go along with it anyway, even though they don't like it and they're struggling with it inside, which would be more of a fawn or kind of a freeze response, where you sort of disconnect from your truth and your fearful emotions in order to protect yourself from potential whatever it was that you're afraid of, potential threat, like whether it's abandonment or harm. So in order to break through this fear, she actually needed to honor it and give it a voice and respect its power as a way, as being her divine feminine intuition that was saying, this doesn't feel safe for me. And the integration point and the allowing also of her own divine masculine to come in as a protector within. So we're talking about the union within, the self-love, the respect of her and honouring of her own self, and then having the courage to face her fear of letting him know how she was feeling and risk losing the relationship, to actually speak it out and to say it and communicate, and to be okay with whatever the response was going to be, and to trust herself. So that was you can see how those types of situations can be a huge journey for someone. But what the essence of this situation and why I used it as an example was to show you how to walk the path of self-love. So when I'm talking about this in relation to the twin flame journey, what I'm seeing a lot of is that a lot of people are putting a lot of energy and focus on what their twin flame is doing. When is my twin flame going to realize, or when are they going to wake up, or when are we going to come into union, when actually at that point it is still very important to be looking at the relationship that you are having with yourself. And a lot of people are not going deep enough in terms of really looking at really deeply within their own inner child, for example. So this would be a relationship with yourself. I'm going to use this as an example because it's actually something that I had a conversation with my own twin flame about only just yesterday. We actually met and talked, and we were both talking about the integration and the relationship within around your own inner child that's maybe faced fearful situations as a child and had to develop a defense mechanism or an identity in order to protect the inner child, and that's often been quite defensive or overprotective, or maybe admonished the inner child and has never been allowed that inner child to be shown. So you've got ending up with these two polarized parts of yourself that are existing within. So what I'm talking about in terms of relationship with yourself is looking at those polarized parts of yourself within that you may be needing to integrate. So an integration point that would create a more balanced relationship with those two parts of yourself would perhaps be more of a wise, compassionate, loving adult that would nourish and allow the inner child to feel its fear, but let it know that it's safe and it's going to be okay, and that you would go at the pace of your inner child to let it know that you love it. That's that self-love, and that you will protect it and do what's necessary in a healthy way. And that means, often putting in boundaries. That's a big lesson as well in self-love. And also so it's a lot about taking that focus away from the external, what's happening in the outside, to coming and bringing it back in. Because as we know, again, I think I've already said this in this video, but I'm going to say it again, our twin flame is our mirror. So they'll be mirroring to you what is going on with the relationship inside of yourself. Okay, so if your twin is ignoring you, well, what does that say? You are ignoring yourself. Your twin flame is kind of on talking terms with you and talking to you, but still not getting close and intimate. Okay, this is my particular example I'm going to be really honest about here and use. So, yeah, okay, so maybe it's about me learning how to become more intimate with myself, or accept or look deeper into the realms of what I'm fearful about in relation to intimacy, and why I would be fearful about intimacy, and what parts of me are polarizing or hiding in the shadows that need more healing and self-love. Okay, so I just want to make it really simple too, because a lot of this stuff might be getting you a bit confused in your mind. But the simple essence of this message is about self-love, and that's why I'm going to put a lot of messages of self-love on this video, so you can actually really see them and feel them, because I think we need to rein it in a little bit here, and keep that as a reminder. No matter how far you are on your twin flame journey, this is always the reset point. It's always, if things aren't going well, whatever, even if you are in a physical relationship with your twin or not, always go back to this point. Where do I need to love myself more? What part of myself do I need to really look at to heal? A part of myself that I'm holding, that's still living in fear, that needs to be given more love and respect and forgiveness, or more honor, or more cherishing, or more nurturing. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of remind people of that, because I see a lot of people getting upset about things because they're putting a lot of the focus outside. The other part of self-love is really trusting yourself as well. Like the conversation I had with my twin again was around my twin feeling that they couldn't trust themselves in certain situations, so they'd kind of shut down in terms of how they were dealing with the situation, because they didn't feel confident yet around a certain particular topic, because they didn't trust themselves. They maybe still had some healing work to do within. Okay, so yeah, so that's kind of the message I wanted to and so of course the ego, which is essentially the defense mechanism that's been put in place to kind of protect us from harm, is going to continue also to expect and want that the stability and everything to be okay and confirmed outside of ourselves. So that's understandable that we would continue to do that. The ego doesn't trust the self, okay? Because if we going within to look for the answers, the ego knows that it's probably it's time's up on the ego, because it's like, oh well, what job am I going to have if that person starts loving themselves? Where am I going to go? Where's my energy going to go? Well, hopefully we're going to integrate the ego, because the ego is attached to the fear. It's kind of the voice that's relating to the fear and all around it, and it usually keeps us stuck in the fear as well, and keeps us stuck in the old pattern which it thought was keeping us safe, but is actually keeping us within that fear. So yeah, just let me check here. So yeah, so just a reminder, when negativity is coming up, it's the opportunity to clean up and clear up away those old fears. This is just old stuff coming up to make way for the new belief systems, and most of the time we'll find that those old fears are relating to basically fear of not being loved, and being abandoned or rejected. And how do we fix that? How do we give ourselves medicine for that? It is always again, go back to the basics, self-love. Okay, and the other part of self-love, which is kind of related, I might have to be clearer to find out a way to make this link a little bit clearer, but it's also remembering to surrender and let go as well. This might be a slightly different energy that's required here. But again, the ego likes to hold on and want everything to know what's happening now and tomorrow and forever, and this kind of sense of stability. But actually the new energy is always constant. So the energy of the old, or needing to hold on, is totally... It's impossible, because every day we are changing, every minute we are changing. Our cells are renewing, they're dying and renewing every minute. And what we have been doing in the past is we're continuing to replay the old memories and feelings and belief systems that were programmed into our cells. We've kept those running. So what's happening now is we're meant to actually be letting those go and making way for the new through an opening into trust, an opening into the flow of energy that's just a natural occurrence within the universe, a natural flow of energy and electricity and magnetism that flows through us if we're open to receiving it. So the divine love and the divine light and the new energies and the high vibrational timelines and all of that good stuff is here for us. We don't have to try and do anything to achieve it. The only thing we actually really need to do is to be open to receive it and to allow ourselves to let go of whatever may be holding us back, that we're holding on to thinking that's it, but just letting it go, letting it go. I'll give you an example again of that in real life in relation to my twin flame. I know that he is a person that will not commit to anything, and it used to really bug me. It bothered me a lot, and I thought, well, how can you ever have anything that's stable? And again, that word, the ego likes to know that things are going to be permanent, that it's going to stay here forever. But as we know, the nature of life is change constantly. So in terms of a relationship with my twin flame, every day it's a different relationship. So it can't be something that you can define, hold on to and sign on a piece of paper and say it's going to be like this forever, because every day it's new. Every day you're a new person. Every day you're rejuvenating, and every day you're coming into a new relationship with yourself and with the other, and continually growing and changing. So thereby it's about that being in the moment and letting go, loving in the moment and letting go. Okay, and that helps us away from that attachment as well that we like, because that's just part of the ego fear that thinks it's going to lose something and needs to hold on. We need to let that go and trust that something better is coming. We're renewing, we're rejuvenating, we're getting better, we're improving, right? The situation's improving. So just keep letting go. Yeah. So, yeah, I just wrote down a few little things here, and I have got, I guess, one of the biggest questions is, do you fully, completely, 100% love and accept every part of yourself? And, that question is something for you all to consider, and maybe through looking at that question might give you a clue as to where things are at on your twin flame journey and with your twin flame and the connection you have with each other. Come back to you. Always, the answer always lies within, and I will leave a lot of little quotes there for you today to give you some inspiration around that, because as you know, I'm going to remind you again, the first relationship is with yourself. Get that all sorted. Let's not get hung up on this whole coming into union with your twin flame and divine masculines finally realizing and turning around again. That is part of the old paradigm that we've overlaid into the twin flame community, saying that it's all about the other. It's not all about the other at all. It's all about you. It starts with you. Let's get that sorted first and not get distracted on putting too much focus into what the other is doing. Come back to you now and be strong with that. Okay, I'm sending you out heaps and heaps of love and light for today. And if any of you feel that you'd like some extra support or a session with me, please click the link below, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay, bye for now.